Welcome everybody to the training today. My name's Trevor, and today we're talking about how to price your products effectively on your website. Many of you guys are using drop shippers and drop ship suppliers. Some of you guys are using a combination of drop ship suppliers and retail suppliers, like an Amazon or a Walmart, Target, whatever. And some of you guys do some of your own inventory. I know that. Some of you guys sort of make and manufacture your own stuff. Maybe you buy in bulk out of China. Whatever the case may be, it's always appropriate to ask yourself the question, how do I price my products effectively, right? Because the issue is you don't want to go too low to where you're not making money. You certainly don't want to go too high to where people aren't going to pay you or buy products from you. So you want to find somewhere there in the middle that's your profitable middle. And that's what we're going to try to help you guys find, okay? Now, as far as pricing is concerned, today at least, I'm going to speak to you as if your sites are a little on the newer side, okay? You're just getting started with your supplier, or you've had your site up for a little bit and you're wondering to yourself, did I price things okay? So let's take a look at two potential strategies for pricing that I feel like will work best for you guys. So I'm just going to put it in this little note section right here. We're going to say pricing two strategies here to start with, okay? And we're going to talk strategy one. Strategy number one, okay? I think strategy number one is a pretty easy way to go about it. It's similar to some pricing you may have done on eBay, but let me kind of break down how that'll work, okay? You're going to take, number one, product cost, okay? And product cost is really just defined as whatever your supplier is going to charge you for your product, okay? The raw price of the product. So that's the first thing we need to consider. Number two is sales tax. Okay, and I put a question mark there because sometimes you'll pay it, other times you won't. We'll talk about that here in just a second. And then we need to consider shipping. Okay, is there a cost? I'm going to put a question mark right there because some suppliers and some companies don't charge you any shipping. So we need to ask ourselves, A, what's the cost of the product? B, is there sales tax involved? And C, is there any shipping involved as well? Those are your core costs that you've got to figure out. Now, I've got a couple of suppliers up that I'm just gonna show you just as examples of suppliers. Can I just say first of all that before you do any of this, that you need to understand how your supplier works. I know that sounds kind of silly, but you need to understand how much you're going to be paying for your products. You need to understand if you're going to be paying sales tax or not, and you need to understand how much shipping is going to cost. Okay? If you don't know those things about your supplier, you need to hop on their website and you need to figure it out. Or if it's not clear on their website, then you ought to consider contacting them and learning a little bit. So here's a couple of sites I'm just going to show you real quick. This one, this is a supplier site. They sell natural cleaning and personal care products. And, you can come and you can register an account with them. But if you go and you look at their products, I'll just show you a few as an example. You may see something that looks like this. They have a regular price. Okay, I know this is kind of small, but I'm gonna highlight it anyway here. We'll zoom in just a little bit. This is for a lavender hand and body lotion, 16 ounce. They say their normal price is $16.98. I get it for $12.98. Now, I haven't signed up for this supplier. This is just posted on their website, probably because these days a lot of suppliers will also sell to the general public. That's not an uncommon practice. And so if your supplier has a shopping cart and has regular prices or sale prices, they may also be selling to the general public. And guess what? that's not an awful thing. That's not a bad thing if your supplier sells to the public. That's fine, whatever, right? I guess in theory they're kind of like your competition in that respect, but it's not a big deal. As I'm looking at this, this may not be my price. If I sign up with this company and register, there's a good chance that I'm getting some sort of a discount off of this $12.98. Maybe they're special for registered partner drop shippers or resellers like us, is maybe we get 20% off that price as a wholesale price. Okay? So let's pretend that's the case. Let's pretend for a second if I sign up for these guys, I get 20% off their wholesale price there, or their posted sale price. So I would just do the math on that, right? I could take $12.98 and I could multiply that by 0.80, which would give me 80% of that price, which would be $10.38. That would be my cost from this supplier, assuming that those are the parameters, okay? I multiply it by 0.8 because that gives me a 20% discount. $12.98 times 0.8 gives me that 20% discount. I end up with $10.38, okay? Now, so I'm going to go back to my notes here, and I'm just going to say, for this example, $10.38 is my price on this item. What about sales tax? Well, let me tell you something, guys. 99% of the time, if you're working with a registered drop shipper that requires an EIN or a state sales tax number, they require that state sales tax number and the EIN to legitimize you as a business. They don't want to charge you sales tax because they know you're going to be reselling their product. So in most cases, if your supplier is a legitimate wholesale drop shipping company, you're not going to pay sales tax on anything you order from them. So I don't even have to worry about this sales tax, okay, if it's a legit wholesale supplier. By law, they don't necessarily have to charge me tax, okay? All right. What if it's a retailer? What if this company was Walmart? Then yes, I would have to add tax into this because most retail companies will charge you sales tax. And the problem with this is this tax rate is usually based on where the product is being shipped. And I don't know where the product is being shipped because after all, I'm selling it on my website. I don't know where my customers are coming from. So we estimate a 10% is a good markup from your product cost here. So I'm going to multiply by 0.10. Okay? Or I think this is easier, multiply by 0.10 or 1.1, okay? So if I take 1038 or 10.38, which is my cost, and multiply by 1.10, that'll give me my cost plus my sales tax. I'm just going to do that. 10.38, $10.38 times 1.10. My new cost is going to be $11.42, right? That's my product cost plus sales tax. Okay. Now, what about shipping? Well, on this specific site, I'm going to go and I'm going to look for some shipping guidelines. So here's their shipping policy right here. And I'm going to check to see what they do for shipping. It looks like, as I read here, it says receive free shipping on orders over $58. Applies to orders shipping to the 48 continental states. For international orders, we will prorate your shipping cost. By the way, if you're just very first doing this, just stick to domestic orders here in the United States. It's easier that way. Okay, it's much easier. Don't add the headache of Alaska, Hawaii, and international shipping. Not yet. There's plenty of business in the lower 48. Um, so let's see. You'll normally receive your order 3 to 8 business days after your order is received. Okay, good. Um, your shipping charges will automatically be calculated for FedEx delivery. The charges are based on the weight of your order. We also use USPS and other ground shipment companies. In other words, they're saying we'll use whoever we want, whatever's going to be cheapest to them. We always ship by the lowest price available to save you money on shipping cost if you need expedited shipping, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we don't really know how much our product is going to cost for shipping. It's a 16-ounce product. They say they could use any service. They could use the post office or FedEx or whatever. There's actually shipping estimators that you can use. Sometimes it's best, and I've found some clients find it very easy to simply contact their supplier and ask them to get some estimations on shipping. And some suppliers are very good at accommodating you for that. You could contact them and say, hey, this 16-ounce lavender hand and body lotion, if it gets shipped from your office to, anywhere in the United States, generally about how much does it cost? You can ask them that if you want. And they may give you a number. That's one thing you could do, right? You could ask your supplier. Number two is you could estimate for yourself. Right? Like you could use one of these services here. This is one, shipgooder.com, SHIP, ship, and then GOODER, shipgooder.com. And this is a great way just to kind of estimate your general shipping cost. Okay, so first of all, we've got to find out through our supplier where they're based or where they're located. So I'm going to look on their site and see if I can find something about that. Here's their About Us page. I don't see where they're located here, at least on their About Us. Let's try Contact Us. Indiana. 47041. There, it looks like they're in Indiana. I think I need to put in. Sorry, you can't just put in the state. You have to actually put in their zip code here. So 47041. 47041. There we go. Whoops. 47041. I guess I can probably. Yeah, it's not giving me. This is in California, though. Michigan. Yeah, it looks like it's not going to take that address for some reason. So if it's not going to take that address, I'm going to just I'm going to go find another Indiana zip code. After all, this is just a rough estimate here. So let's do like 46012. It's not going to make that big of a difference. See if that takes it. No, that's not going to take it either. See if it takes an Indianapolis. Nope, not going to take that. Boy, this wants to be difficult with us, doesn't it? Hold on, guys. We're going to do this the hard way. We're going to try to find a general zip code here in Indianapolis, 46205. Let's see if they take that. Yeah, they're not taking, maybe this will work. No, we're just going to grab a general, since for the sake of our example here, let's just grab any zip code that's going to work for us. I'm just going to grab a local one so that we can move forward. That's odd. It's not taking anything from Indiana, so I don't know why it's doing that. But generally, you should be able just to take your zip code and drop it in here. The ship to address, we don't really know where our product is going to be sent to, so we can pick any ship to address. I like to think worst case scenario. So worst case scenario from Indiana would probably be somewhere on the somewhere on the West Coast, right? So we'll grab something in Beverly Hills here, right? Because that's a West Coast zip code right there, right? Okay. So we've got sort of worst case scenario. Assuming we've got an Indiana zip code, we can put in a California zip code, and that would be worst case. That's kind of the farthest spot from Indiana. And then we can do a drop off, ship by type, package, and then pounds. We'll do it in pounds. The weight's about 1 pound, and then you can estimate the package size, right? It's not going to be very big. Maybe the length is I don't know, we'll say 8 inches. The width is 7 inches, and then the height is 12 inches, right? Just kind of estimate the package, and then you hit get rates. And then what this will do is this is going to generally sort of give you different rates from different shipping providers. Now you're going to want to do ground, because most of this is going to be ground shipping. And it looks like if they ended up using FedEx or UPS, this would probably cost about $8 shipping. So see how I can kind of estimate my own shipping that way? If I know what it is that's being shipped and I know the weight, I can kind of do worst case scenario and use this ship gooder to get a general, hey, here's about how much it's going to cost. It's sure nice if your supplier can provide you with some information on that. And you can even go through if you know your supplier only ships through the post office, you could go to USPS.com, and they have a way that you can estimate shipping costs. But that's probably the biggest X factor when you're trying to decide product cost, is how much is shipping going to be? Because ultimately, what we like to have you guys do is we want you to offer free shipping to your customers, right? And in order to offer free shipping to your customers, you have to build that shipping price into the overall cost here, which is wise, right? You want to build that cost in, because that $8 that we just figured it's going to cost to ship this thing, I want to build this into my product price. Okay, so let's get a summary right here of what we got. Product cost was $10.38, right? Plus sales tax, we said was 10% of that, so another $1.38 or whatever. Or no, I'm sorry, $1.04 would be 10%. That's for sales tax. And then we estimated about $8 in shipping. Okay, and this gives us our raw product cost. So let's add this all together. $10.38 plus $1.04. Whoops, $10.38 plus $1.04 plus $8. Our total cost on this is going to be $19.42. That's our cost, right? So here's where strategy number 1 works. If you can get this number right here, I want you to do one thing. Multiply by 1.4, okay? So you get to that $19.42, multiply it by 1.4. That's a 40% markup, okay? So if I take that 1942 and multiply by 1.40, that's going to give me $27.18. $27.18, which equals, I'll probably sell this thing for $26.99. That'd probably be my sales price. Okay? Does that make sense? That's strategy one. So real quick to recap, figure out product cost. How much is your supplier going to charge you? Add in sales tax if applicable. Add in shipping. In this case, you know what? A real example of this, I don't think these guys actually charge sales tax because they're a wholesale drop shipper. So really, in this example, I probably should have just taken out the extra 10%. But oh well. We already talked about that. Bottom line is, you add all these things together, multiply by 1.4, $26.99 will be our price. Okay. Now, think about it for just a second. If we sell it on our site for $26.99, and we looked at our total cost, which was what, $19.42, that would give us a profit of what? $26.99 minus $19.42, a profit of $7.57, right? But that's not totally true, because even when you're selling on a website, the one thing that we forget is that when you sell something, you still have what's called a merchanting fee. If somebody pays you $26.99 on your site, generally you're going to have a merchanting fee of about 3%. So we're going to have to add another line item here. That's not our profit. We're going to take $26.99 and we're going to multiply by 0.03. And that's going to give us about an 81-cent fee. If you're using PayPal, the rule is 2.9% plus 30 cents. And if we're using PayPal on our site, we got to take 26.99 times that by 0.029. That would be a 2.9% fee. So maybe I can make just another section here. We'll call this merchanting. So 26.99 times 0.029. That's multiplying it by 2.9%. That equals $0.029. That's 78 cents. Plus, they charge a standard 30-cent transaction fee. Plus 30 cents equals $1.08 for merchanting. Okay? So what we got to do here, guys, we got to add our merchanting right here, minus $1.08. You feel like you're getting nickeled and dimed to death yet? I do. I feel a little like that. So now do the math. $26.99 minus $19.42 minus $1.08 equals $6.49 as your profit. Okay? What's your profit margin then? Take $6.49 and divide that by $26.99. You made about 24% off your sales price. That's pretty darn good. So that's strategy number one here for pricing. Okay. It actually looked kind of hairy and ugly, but it's really actually not that bad. Okay, can we just simplify it real quick? Product cost, sales tax, estimated shipping, added together, you multiply by 1.4, boom, you got your price. To figure out profit, you take your sales price, you minus your costs, you minus your merchanting fee, which we just talked about, boom, you got your profit. You want to find out your profit margin? Take your profit and divide that by your sales price. Boom, you got profit margin. Okay? Those are the ways to crunch the numbers there, but keep it simple. Keep it simple, and this is a pretty straightforward strategy to use. All right, so that's strategy one. I think that's the harder strategy, right? Let me show you strategy two. This one's easier, I promise. Strategy number two for pricing. Okay? Step 1, find out MSRP or suggested retail price. Okay? Do you know a lot of times that your supplier will give you that price? Let me see if I can find an example of that. I don't have an example up right now. These guys kind of do. If you look at this supplier, they give you a regular price. I can tell you a lot of manufacturers and wholesale drop shippers will say, hey, here's our suggested retail, but hey, here's your price, right? They give you kind of the suggested retail, or they'll call it the MSRP, and then they'll give you your price as to what you get it for, right? Do you know an easy way to do pricing for products is if you can find out what their MSRP is or suggested retail price is, take that, okay, whatever that number is, then in step 2, add shipping, okay? Add whatever the recommended or the estimated shipping is, like we talked about before. So take those two numbers and then you can charge that price. Okay? So you just add those two numbers together. Take MSRP plus shipping and charge that price. And then you can offer free shipping on your site. Now this is a far less analytical or numbers-based pricing theory. It's sort of quick and dirty. I'll give you an example. Let's say you go to your supplier, okay, and let's say your supplier has an item that they're selling for, $87. That's the drop ship price. We'll say MSRP on this. MSRP we'll say is, I don't know, $139. And then let's say the estimated shipping based on our calculations or whatever we get from the supplier, let's guess that is $20, okay? So the question is, what do I charge? Well, if you want to go quick and dirty, quick and easy, take MSRP $139, add the $20 of shipping, that equals $159. Boom. There's your sales price. That was easy, right? Done. You're going to charge $159 on your site, or on your site you may charge like $158.99. I prefer like the $99 or $98, $97. $95 is fine too. There's some psychology and there's some research that shows that actually can be effective. I mean, there's no wonder stores do it. But I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you. I'd probably charge $158.99. Well, I mean, how much would I make on it? Well, we'd have to run the numbers on that, but we'd take our $159 sales price minus our dropship price of $87. Is there sales tax on this? Probably not if it's a wholesaler. So we don't have to figure that in. There's always going to be merchanting, so we have to do the 3% of $159, right? $159 times 0.03. It's about $5 in merchanting fees. But see how easy that is? If you can get a supplier that's going to give you a general idea of about what their MSRP is, sometimes you can sell right at that price. Okay? That's strategy number 2. Hold on, let me see. I haven't answered many of your questions. Let's see if you've got any here. Yeah, Vicky says FedEx and UPS will let you figure out ratings right online. You can go to like UPS.com, FedEx.com, USPS.com, and get kind of a general idea. Cheryl, I'm not sure I'm totally understanding your question. You say, why should you sell this for less than the number you came up with? Can you clarify that? I'm not sure if I'm following you. Jeff says, can we list lower than MSRP? Of course you can. Let me just tell you about MSRP real quick. What is MSRP, guys? It's the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Does MSRP equal market value? No, not necessarily. Right? That's not necessarily true. That's just a suggestion from the manufacturer. They think it should be worth about that. The market will pay whatever the market will bear, right? So, yes, oftentimes you can sell below MSRP. But the question I get is, okay, well, what's best here? You showed me two separate pricing models. What's going to yield, the best results? How do I know what price is going to make me the most money? Well, isn't that the golden question? I have no idea, guys. You have to test it. I can sit here and speculate and say, well, you should probably do it this way or that way. These are two really great ways for a company who's just starting to get some prices on their products. But do you know that pricing it's based on industry, it's based on competition, it's based on how well your customers are behaving based on your pricing. I mean, bottom line is if you're getting a ton of traffic to your site and nobody is buying anything from you, you might consider that your prices need to be adjusted a little bit. That's a lever that you can pull to see if you can't improve conversions on your website. So I don't know what the best price is going to be. But here's what I do know. If you'll use one of these two strategies and you make sure that you're profitable on your prices and you've built your shipping into it, so you're going to be making money on this stuff, get out there and get marketing. Don't get too crazy about your pricing. Okay, that's my biggest tip today is don't get too analytical, don't get too anal about your pricing, because guess what? Nobody is going to be able to give you good feedback on your pricing as good as your customers. So get out there and start marketing, and let's see how your customers behave. If you're closing sales, great. Then maybe you're priced well. If you're not, maybe we need to adjust those prices a little bit, okay? Yeah, and just to clarify on strategy number 2 here, you guys were asking, well, no sales tax? Well, it depends on the supplier, right? Earlier we talked about if your supplier is a retail supplier, then yes, sales tax, right? If the supplier is a retail or a wholesale supplier, there's no sales tax. If a retail supplier, there is sales tax. Just check with your supplier so you know if you need to factor that in at all. We just made the assumption that in step 2 or strategy number 2 here that no sales tax in that one. Okay. Lawrence, not sure if I'm understanding your question 100%. You say, is this merchant fee on website sales? It is. So if you're using PayPal as your merchant on your site, then yes, you'll need to charge. Well, PayPal is going to be charging you 3% for every sale you make, roughly. You don't need a license for that. PayPal is going to be the one that's going to be charging that. Yes. So the one thing we haven't addressed here that at some point we'll address more in the future, but on a given website, okay, let me log into this website that I'm looking at right now. Okay, inside Volusion, there's a spot called Settings and Tax. Okay, you can program into your Volusion builder your tax rate for your state so that if someone, because the law is, right, if someone from your state buys from you, by law, you need to charge that person your state sales tax. So let's say I am from, since we're using Indiana a lot, let's say I am from Indiana. Where is Indiana? Right here. Indiana, it looks like, has a set 7% tax rate. If I hit set, that means inside my Volusion, if anybody from Indiana buys from me, my product price will automatically increase by 7% to charge them that sales tax. But that's different than the sales tax that we were talking about, because when we were talking about sales tax here, we were talking about sales tax as it relates to us buying from a supplier and that increasing the cost of our product. Yes, Oliver, I believe used merchandise is taxable. Yeah, Lawrence, this is a good point that you bring up here. So some suppliers have what's called a MAP price. MAP pricing. You guys seen that? It's the minimum advertised price, meaning if I have a MAP price of $100 that a supplier gives me, I can't charge below that. I can charge above it, but I can't charge below it. They do that so as to limit the big players not being able to price everything super low, squeeze out their competition, and then jack up their prices, right? I mean, it'd be like imagine there's 3 movie theaters in your city and a fourth one moves in and charges 50% cheaper seats than all the other ones. And all the other ones, they can't compete, so they go out of business. And then movie theater number 4, once they drive everybody out of business, then jacks up their price to 200% more than what it was. I mean, that's a kind of an extreme example, but that's the point of MAP pricing. They don't allow you to sell under a certain price. Anyway, so if your supplier gives you MAP pricing, just know you got to charge more than that. Yeah, sure, Jan. Let's talk about merchant fees one more time. So on strategy number 2, and this is true of strategy number 1 as well, whenever you sell a product on your site, you need to remember that whatever sales price you choose, PayPal is going to take about 3% of that in order to facilitate the transaction. If whether I'm using strategy 1 or 2, if my sales price, say for a we'll say a little bistro set, a little dining set, is $189. If I charge that on my site and somebody pays for it, PayPal is going to take 0.029 of that, which is 2.9%. PayPal is going to take about $5.50 of that $189. And so when that $189 gets sent over to PayPal, it's going to be less 2.9%. I'll never see that money. I'll see 189 minus 2.9%. Up above here, Gail asks, why did I for sales tax, why did I multiply by 1.10? Well, if the product cost in this example is $10.38, if sales tax is an estimated 10%, which I don't think it'll always be, of course, right? That's just a really high estimate. Some places like Indiana is only 7%. But some places are higher than lower. I figure if I estimate 10%, I can never be wrong there, right? I'll always save just a little bit of money. So I take $10.38. If I multiply that by 1.10, that gives me $11.42. That gives me my product cost plus sales tax all into one. Really, sales tax on that is $10.38 times 0.10, which gives me $1.04 of sales tax. But to skip that step, I just multiply it by 1.1, and that just gives me my total product cost plus sales tax. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Does that kind of make sense there, Gail? It's just for me to skip a step. Otherwise, I have to take 10.38 times 0.1, which gives me $1.38. Then I have to take my $1.38 and add it to 10.38, and that gives me $11.42. It's just a way to skip a step. Okay, good. So guys, just in conclusion here, can we all first agree real quick that pricing, while it is very important, if your site is on the newer side, and I'm kind of gearing this training more to those of you that are newer on your website, can we just go with one of these strategies, strategy 1 or strategy 2, and quickly get prices chosen? And I can promise you we'll go back and really analyze our pricing and make sure it's good, but that's sure hard to do if you don't have customers yet. And so that's why we hustle to get it pricing up. We do some marketing, we get customers, and then from there we figure out if we need to push it up or down. Well, in the future we can do a more advanced pricing analysis. But I think right now this should at least get you up and off the ground. Different industries command different margins, and I used a 40% markup here in strategy 1. You might, if you're in the jewelry industry, you might be able to multiply by a higher multiplier. But you know what? 1.4 is it's a 40% markup. That's a good place to start with almost any industry. Okay, guys, questions about this? I mean, we talked about a lot here, but questions about this, or do you feel like you could get in there and really start getting your pricing done the right way? I'll give you a sec if you've got any questions or if there's anything I can clarify on our example here. And while I'm doing that, there's a few other suppliers I brought up here to give you different examples. This specific supplier, this is a jewelry supplier. They actually, on their website, they don't sell to the general public. I can't even see how much this little bangle, this classic bangle even costs me. I'd have to log in and get my wholesale account to see. So some suppliers, they sell to the public, others don't. You just got to figure out your supplier, and they're all going to have a little bit of a different policy on shipping. Get to know your suppliers well. Okay, a couple of questions, and then we'll finish up here. Okay, Oliver says, if we are charging sales tax only to customers in the same state as we are, why are we using estimated tax of 10% rather than the actual tax from our state? Well, because Oliver, we're talking about two totally different things, okay? By law, you guys are required to charge sales tax if somebody in your state purchases from you. So you're going to be charging your customer sales tax in that situation. Do I charge sales tax if somebody from somewhere outside my state buys from me? No. So if my business is located in the state of Utah, only Utah state residents that buy from me will be charged sales tax. And I just showed you guys here in the builder how we set that up. What I was talking about in strategy 1 is from a supplier standpoint. Is your supplier, Oliver, going to charge you sales tax when you buy a product from them to have drop shipped? It doesn't matter, right? If my supplier is Target.com, it doesn't matter where my customer is from. I'm going to be charged sales tax to buy the item, so I have to increase my price by 10%, an estimated 10% anyway. Because to buy that product from Target, it's going to cost me $10.38 plus sales tax wherever my customer is from. That increases my product cost. That's very different than what we're talking about when we're talking about charging somebody else sales tax. I know that concept can get a little bit confusing. I get a lot of questions about that, but we're talking about two entirely different issues. Pam says, does Volusion let your customer know at checkout they are being charged tax? Yes, they do. So at checkout, Pam, there'll be a line item for sales tax. Lauren says, if we don't use PayPal, would we need a merchant account for transactions? Yes. So PayPal is a merchant. If you're not using PayPal, you've got to use a merchant account from somewhere, from a local bank or whatever. You're always going to be charged a percentage. It's usually anywhere between 2 and 3%. Good question. We'll talk merchanting more later. You guys don't have to use PayPal, by the way. There's other merchanting options, but PayPal tends to be the quickest and the easiest for our clients to start. All right, guys. Well, I hope this did more good than it did harm. I know sometimes this can get a little convoluted when you're talking about sales tax and pricing and markup and everything else, but I hope in these two examples that helped make a little more sense on how you guys can go about pricing your products. And if you've got any further questions, obviously feel comfortable talking to your coach about it and getting some help in that regard. Okay? Well, have a good rest of your Wednesday. Thanks for coming along, guys. We'll see you for more Volusion training next week, same time, same place. Okay? See you soon. Bye-bye.